Oh no. Oh no. Oh boy, looks like we picked a bad night to have one of our worst games of the year, huh? Huh? Holy smokes, man. Utah Hockey Club falls tonight 4-2 against the Seattle Kraken. So Seattle Kraken find a way to get the win tonight over Utah. They're now 2-0 on the season series. They've beaten Utah both times these teams have played. They'll play again later in the season. Our fifth to last game of the year is against the Seattle Kraken. But tonight, in a huge spot against a team well beneath them on the standings in the Western Conference, a team that sold off assets, a team that ostensibly is trying to get a better spot in the lottery outlook, a team that tried to go young with their players, and Utah did not play very well tonight. I thought that they did not assert themselves very strongly, and it started right from the get-go. 51 seconds into the contest, Tolvanen gets a goal, his 20th of the season. He gets it from Chandler Stevenson, and then Tolvanen scores the empty netter at the end of the night. 2 goals for Eeli Tolvanen tonight for the Seattle Kraken in a gigantic spot for Utah Hockey Club. But before we go further, let me introduce myself. My name is Keith Schertz. I run things here at Hive State Hockey. I do streams after the games and talk about what happened on the ice and some of my thoughts concerning the Utah Hockey Club. If you are a returning viewer, you've been here before and you're checking back in with us, I welcome you back and congratulate you on your exceedingly fine taste. If this is your first time coming around here, welcome. This is the place for Utah Hockey Club fans, and I hope that you'll enjoy your stay. Wow, right? The biggest part is wow. Did they need to capitalize on the opportunity they had tonight against the Seattle Kraken? This was massive in their quest to get into the playoffs. And I get it. There's a lot of games left. Utah's got 16 games left. Seattle and Calgary, who they're chasing, they have 17 games left. They continue to be tied with the St. Louis Blues, who are right in the mix as well. St. Louis and Utah sitting in the exact same spot right now. They've both played 66 games. They both have 69 points. Calgary loses tonight to the Avalanche. The Avalanche give a little bit of favor. They do a favor for Utah Hockey Club tonight. Had Utah been able to pull off the win, Calgary would be staring a game against Toronto. The Vancouver versus Utah game that's next on Sunday would have been even more enormous. It now just becomes enormous. But the Utah Hockey Club tonight really had an opportunity to make waves, to do what they needed to do to kind of press the issue tonight, and were unable to capitalize on that opportunity. And so it's a darn shame. It is a shame that they were unable to find their way into a tie from a points perspective with the Calgary Flames, with Vancouver, and walk into the game in Vancouver. Imagine, they're tied with points. They get the first goal over Vancouver. It's one of those things, they had a chance. They really had a chance tonight to assert themselves, to defeat a team that's inferior to them. This is a team that they should play better than. Utah's going for it. Seattle's not going for it. But what happened? So the first thing first, on that first goal, the Olimata just tries to swing it over to Sean Dursey, and Sean Dursey, in my opinion, is the one at blame here. They tried to say, oh, it's both Olli Maatta and Sean Dursey. Sean Dursey's not all the way back, folks. Like, it's not been clear enough with everybody, but Sean Dursey sat out for a long time. He is not in his stride. He's just been thrust into the lineup here at the end of the year for the most important games, and that's great. Adding Dursey is good. He's a good player. But he has had a rough few games here where he's made a lot of these mistakes. In my opinion, that lack of connection between Maatta and Dursey there, I think that was largely on Sean Dursey, as he didn't find a way to receive the puck. The puck was by his stick. It went between his stick and his skates. Like, his head was up. He was looking for a pass down the ice. He misses it. And the forechecking pressure was, on its way. And after it went off the board, Stevenson, he was providing the forechecking pressure. Tolvanen goes and gathers the puck because it got loose, passes back to Stevenson, who just quickly gets it back, and Vejmelka is a sitting duck. Meanwhile, their second goal that goes in the back of the net is a puck luck goal. Brandon Montour, a defenseman, good player, skating hard in front of the net. Same thing, Tolvanen working with Jordan Eberle. Eberle just sends it to the front of the net, and it goes off of the stick of Montour, who's trying to put it on the net. But what he does is he puts it off of the the skate or the leg of John Marino, and then it goes into the back of the net. So again, like a puck luck goal. The first one is just sloppiness. It's just a misplay by Sean Dursey, and then it goes into the pot. And then the third goal was this really terrible clear by Mikhail Sergachev. I mean, we've seen him handle this sort of scenario all year, and for whatever reason, when he goes to ring the puck around the boards, it stays on the stick a little while, boomerangs off, and goes into the side netting. Vejmelka tries to handle and help support on the side netting, but the puck pops loose, gets onto Kaapo Kakko's stick, and the quick wraparound 3-2. So, like, all three of those goals, two of those goals were just misplays that were really uncharacteristic by defensemen who are supposed to be top pair quality defensemen, guys that are making a lot of money to receive a puck and also ring the puck around the boards and get it out of the zone. Things happen, mistakes happen, but the Seattle Kraken were ready to jump on and pounce on those mistakes. And all three of their goals within the run of play tonight, in my opinion, were kind of bullcrap goals. It wasn't like they made a great play. It's like the first one is like there was token forechecking and then a terrible D-to-D pass connection, and bad receipt of that pass comes in, and Dursey misses it, and they pounce on it and get a free look at net and score. Then there's the Brandon Montour one where he gets a stick on the puck, but the puck deflects off of it, goes off the skate of John Marino and into the back of the net. So that was insane and stupid. And then the Kaapo Kakko one was stupid because Sergachev, with the bad misplay, puts it into the side netting, and the puck is wrapped around quickly by Kaapo Kakko while Vejmelka was trying to dig it out of the side netting and help them get the clear, and then, of course, the empty netter. So four goals tonight, all of them kind of bullcrap goals by the Seattle Kraken. None of them were wildly skill-based. All it took tonight was just some token forechecking pressure, and then the defensemen were willing to give them a good, clean, free look on net. And then a puck luck goal. So really, really unenforced errors, huge unenforced errors tonight for Utah Hockey Club. They yeah, they didn't play physical tonight. They gave the puck away loads tonight. They didn't get as many shots on goal as they typically have been in their better run of play more recently. They won the face-off circle 61% of the time. They just between the giveaways and then just then those two giveaways led to the two really bad giveaways led to 2 goals, right? And on the other side, after killing off the penalty, the Kevin Stenlund pass over to Nick Schmaltz, that was, again, that wasn't a bullcrap goal. That was a skill goal where Kevin Stenlund did the job, found his way in front. Meanwhile, on the second period goal, Kevin Stenlund, he goes to the net. Carconi, great pass, gets it over to John Marino, who has the excellent pass, finds a way to cut it in front, and he gets it to Kevin Stenlund. There is a piece of all of this. So those are the 2 goals tonight. Kevin Stenlund involved with both of them. And when Kevin Stenlund's your best player on the ice, folks, you're not going to win very many hockey games. I like Kevin Stenlund, but if he's your best player on the ice, you're just not winning very many hockey games. That's the truth of the matter. So that's the story of tonight's game. They just did not show up to play. They were not particularly focused. I felt like, there's nights where they're ratcheted up and play a lot better, and this was just not one of those nights. It was curious to see that Karel Vejmelka was in net for this game against Seattle. He has played many, many games, and we know he's a big, strong guy, great athlete, but the question is can he continue this workload? Will there be diminishing returns? Well, tonight isn't a good answer on that, though his save percentage of .857, not looking great. 2 of the goals, like I said, were kind of bullcrap, and the other one that went by him was a deflected, puck luck goal. So I just think overall, like when he had a good look at something, he saved it. So, hard to say, but I am keeping my eye on that. I do think that he can wear down, and I think that they need to find a start for Jackson Stauber if we're going to survive the next 16 games and get as many opportunities to win as possible. I just think there's going to come a point where there's diminishing returns on Veggie if he continues to play as much as he's playing. They got to find a way to get Jackson Stauber a couple games. And he played okay. He was reasonable. Not awesome, but reasonable. And had an excellent game, right, against Vegas. So, anyway, that's where we're at on that. Veggie, I thought tonight was good. Was put in a bad spot a couple times by his defenseman. And then, puck was sent just to the front of the net. There was the deflected goal, and that was that. So, okay, Utah Hockey Club struggled tonight, and on a night where everything had lined up just perfectly, they got the help from the Calgary Flames, and they were unable to capitalize in that circumstance. So, frustrating game for Utah Hockey Club, and continues to be a story of how things are going. Also, the report that Liam O'Brien was dinged up tonight, had a little bit of trouble with his health. We will keep our eye on what's going on with Liam O'Brien. I've seen nothing or have not been able to watch the clips indicating anything from the press. So no report on Spicy Tuna's health, though it may be the case that this will facilitate the return of Matias Maccelli. The other thing too is in terms of lines that were brutal. Again, just people that got to lead the way tonight. Clayton Keller's a -3 tonight. Logan Cooley's -3 tonight, right? So not great, wasn't going good. That is, those two guys have to be the people that provide for Utah Hockey Club this season. We know that they have provided in many ways for Utah Hockey Club this season. Logan Cooley's a little bit off, right? His game is just not, it's not clicking at this point. And I think he's been affected by not playing on the top line power play. And I'm not sure what he did to not be on that. Not that Barrett Hayton hasn't been good on that top line power play, but I'd love to see Logan Cooley get more time on the power play. I think he does such a good job in those scenarios. So anyway, something to keep an eye on. For whatever reason, it's not coming together. And the other part of this too is like in a game where we look back and we're like, man, like they scored two really nice goals, Utah Hockey Club. They didn't get enough good high danger chances tonight to really be, menacing. The thing is I'm going to look this up real fast, but one of the things that I think needs to be thought about is, and I've said it a long time, and it's just an issue I have with Clayton Keller's game. I get it. He's a good goal scorer and skilled as it relates to, setting up goals and getting those things to happen. I actually think he could be more effective if he just decided to go to the net a whole lot more. He so frequently holds up into the neutral zone or is skating back and away from the goalie instead of towards the net. I wish that there was more action towards the net. If I'm a goalie, it's just this simple. This isn't like hardcore analysis, but like, here we go. If just imagine for a second you're a goalie. Clayton Keller has the puck. There is a rush that can happen. They're in transition. He can either come at me or he could hold up. Which would you rather have him do? Get closer to you or hold up the puck and start looking across the ice? Right? I'd rather him hold up at the top of the circle and start looking for options. That would be better for me. I don't want him shooting at me, and I don't want him closing the gap to me, and I don't want him to try to walk it in front because that's Clayton Keller, and he's quite good. He's quite good when it comes to scoring goals. So that's kind of my feeling on this scenario. Sorry if there's been some troubles. I'm seeing that there's some troubles with the internet. I'm going to close that website. Apparently opening that slowed us down a little. Sorry. So if you're now play this scenario, you're a goalie. Clayton Keller's coming at you, right? And he's attacking. He's got that puck on a stick, usually over on that right wing, right? And he can either come at you and attack and shoot the puck, or he could be skating away back towards the blue line and then trying to do his long, slow walk across the blue line all the way over to the left wing. That is not harder to defend. A pass is harder to defend. And so, to me, that is the difficulty there. Hey, welcome, Mr. Sparkotube or Mrs. Park O-Tube. Either way, welcome. So glad to have you here. Great question. Prediction, do you think they'll make it? Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation because, look, they have they're away by 2 points at this point. I worry about Veggie wearing down the stretch on this. And the other part that I want to get to with you is this. I think that they have a couple advantages over the other teams that they're chasing. Both Vancouver and Calgary have to take the East Coast swing. And so they're going to go have the New York Rangers, New Jersey Devils, New York Islanders. They both have to go do that trip. And so typically the Canadian teams from the West do poorly on that trip. And so it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Like Calgary is just getting ready to go for it, where they're going to play, like I think they're going to have 4 games in 6 nights coming up here. at Toronto, at New York Rangers, at New Jersey Devils, at New York Islanders. Utah did this trip earlier in the season where they had a 4-game East swing and did the kind of New York metro area and did not do particularly well in that. They did win one against New Jersey, but they had a lot of trouble in the other 2 games. So there is opportunity for Utah to make up the gap. As it relates to Vancouver, they've also got to do that trip. They actually have a period where they have 6 straight road games at St. Louis, at New York Rangers, at New Jersey Devils, at New York Islanders, at Columbus, who's right in the thick of it, and at Winnipeg. Like, that is going to be the refiner's fire for the Vancouver Canucks. That will be coming up. But what Utah needs to do to put themselves in is really this Sunday. I'm just telling you, even though there's so many games, the chance to put Vancouver down and elevate themselves and get right into the mix. This is the one time Utah gets a chance at Vancouver down this home stretch. If they want to close the gap, they've got to win on Sunday against the Canucks. It's a math question, so this is the other part. Oh, yeah, if we look at St. Louis, yeah, I'm happy to do that real quick. The St. Louis thing that they have, they have 2 at Nashville and 1 at home. Yeah, geez, they haven't played Nashville yet. They're in the same division. How have they not played Nashville yet? That's wild. It is going to be a rocking game this Sunday. No question about it. Yeah, they do have 3 Nashville games. The other thing with St. Louis is obviously we've got the game with them down the stretch of the year. But they to me have a lot more of the high-end games too. Like down the stretch, they're going to play Colorado at home, at Winnipeg, at Edmonton. That's like a 3-game stretch. That's going to be very difficult for them to manage and deal with. The other one that I wanted to, what was the other piece that I saw with them? Yeah, and then it looks like they've got Vancouver at home. So again, Vancouver has some trouble, coming up because they've got so many road games that are in a big spot. And if Utah can beat them at home in one of these key games, I mean, that is so big. So big. And that first period is going to be big. I want to get into the math question with you. If you're new here, and I think you might be, and so thank you for being here. We love seeing it. One of the things that I'd say to you is this. As I have taken a look at what it took to get into the Western Conference playoffs, barring a new low being set this year, you've needed 91 points. So you got to get to 91 points to get into the playoffs. That is typically the number that is the lowest previous number that you got to hit. And as I take a look at it, there's 16 games left, and if you're at 69 points, right, that means you got to get 22 points out of the next 16 games. So Utah at least needs to take care of that. And so to get 16, to get 22, they got to win 11 and lose 5. That's right. And so the other issue, though, is that Utah has only had one 4-game win streak this season. And so if they do lose, they need to get loser points, which they've done a nice job of getting loser points this year. But what they need to do is be stacking up a lot of regulation wins to win the tiebreakers, because I do think it's going to be very close. And I think if they can find their way to get to the 91-point mark, they'll have a very good chance at it. But they haven't had a run this season where they have scored, like if we're being honest, they haven't scored 22 points over a 16-game stretch this season. So they got to be playing their best hockey of the year. And part of the whole thing of this season is that we are trying to see if the young guys have the ability to play in these nut crunch games down the stretch, trying to get in the playoffs. They've done the work of being in the hunt. So what Bill Armstrong wanted at the beginning of the year for Utah Hockey Club was to get into the thing. But if they're to get into the playoffs and break through, we're gonna need the young guys to kind of come through. And I was just saying, it looks to me like Logan Cooley's wearing down a little bit. He was a -3 tonight. And, man, he skates all over the place. He plays so hard. But he is not producing points at the rate he was earlier. He's kind of in a slump, in a lull. You're going to need a lot more from Logan Cooley down the stretch. You're just going to have to get a lot more from Logan Cooley down the stretch. So it'll be fascinating for us to see what happens there. But as you note, it's good that they're in the mix right now and having the experience of playing these tough games. At the beginning of the year, with one of the younger squads in the NHL, all you could want is for them to be in a game at this point where they are going to be playing on the road in Vancouver with fairly decently high stakes. And so it'll be interesting. Tonight, they were not good. They were not good. And they did not play good, strong hockey. And that's the way it goes. Yeah, okay, so you like Ian Cole. Yeah, good player, good veteran defenseman. He was one of the defensemen tonight that played really well. There weren't many of them, but Ian Cole was pretty good tonight. Yeah, he's been impressive. The willingness to block pucks this year is one of the things that I always marvel at people that are happy to let the puck hit them. They do not feel good. It hurts to get hit by pucks, and I don't know what it feels like to get hit by a puck by a professional who's sending in even just a wrister from the blue line. That would not feel great. But Ian Cole's like, yeah, sign me up. I'll take that, no problem. But yeah, he's been solid. He's been solid for Utah, and he's signed. We'll have him again next year. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much more Ian Cole has in the tank. It's one of those things that at some point you would think he'll transition into trying to be like a 7 for the defense, where he's kind of in the Robert Bortuzzo spot where you play him and he gets to play like 25 games a year. I think that we got to be getting close to that era for Ian Cole, which is why he got a 1-year deal. And honestly, if Ian Cole is the 7 for the team next year, that's a great spot for him. But he's been a terrific pro. He's had a nice long career, and there's very good reasons why he's stuck around for so long. And I, like you, have appreciated watching him play this year. No question about it. So there you go. So are they going to get in? If I had to say, I'd have to say that, hand on heart, I don't think they're going to make it. I don't think they're going to make it. They're at just the tiniest disadvantage. The fact that Vancouver and Calgary have played less games, that makes me nervous that they're 2 points behind, and Calgary and Vancouver have a game in hand, and so there's a chance that both of them could be up by 4 points, so to speak, because they have an extra game to play. So, their deficit is somewhere between 2 and 4 points, and to make up the difference on them is certainly possible. But the other piece of this is that the tiebreaker is the regulation wins. And for whatever reason, regulation wins have been one of the difficult spots for Utah Hockey Club this season. I believe they have, in terms of regulation wins, here, I'll just look it up, 21 this year, okay? So 21 is tied. 21 regulation wins is tied for the third lowest total in the NHL. Only San Jose and Chicago have less regulation wins than the Utah Hockey Club this year. That includes the Eastern Conference. The low man on the totem pole for regulation wins in the Eastern Conference. Oh, excuse me. It does not include the Eastern Conference. That is in the West. In the East, yeah, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia have less. So, okay. So they're tied with the fifth from the bottom. So there are only 4 out of the 32 NHL teams that have less regulation wins than Utah Hockey Club. So I would just say that their ability to find their way into the playoffs is going to have to count on a tiebreaker, because they're ostensibly 4 points back right now, even though it's actually 2, but there's a game in hand. Anyway, they're 4 points back, so if they're going to be able to make up the difference, and we think that they need to score 22 points in the last 16 games, and they haven't had a stretch of games that have been that successful this season, and they need the tiebreaker with the thing. There's a whole lot of things there that make me nervous about their prospects of getting in. But there is a chance. Yes. I love it. Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. The Lloyd Christmas in all of us shines through at times when you're a sports fan, you know. You gotta believe that there's still a chance. Listen, they gotta go out and play, and they gotta have those things go. But I gotta ask you, Sparky, that's what I'll call you. One of the one of the things that I'm wondering, from your opinion here, is what do you think about the prospects of playing Veggie at the starting level that they have? Veggie has, I think, started like 8 games in a row. I think he's played something like 90% of our games since the Four Nations face-off. With 16 games left, if they keep the same sort of starting pace for Veggie, he'll have finished the season over the last 32 games. That would be him playing 29 of them is the pace that he's on, I believe, if my numbers are correct. Okay, and I agree with you that he's been our best goalie, and certainly with Ingram being gone from the team and bringing in Jackson Stauber, that gives you a tough spot. But at the same time, okay, I like it, Sparky. Sparky, these are good points that you're making to me, my friend. I would say this, that they, I worry about though that the fatigue part of it all could wear him down a little bit. Most goalies are not like Martin Brodeur, where they can just play that level of games and not have much of a drop-off. If that's Vejmelka, that'd be great, but I kind of don't want to find out if he's that in the middle of this. All right, you know what? That's a great point, but I would say this, though, is just like, I guess what I'm worried about is just like, do you pick a couple games here in the short term to give him a little bit of a rest so he's good to go? That's kind of the thought I have. All right. If you're still in, all right. No rest. No rest for the good goalie. All right. Got you. I got you. And once you're out of the playoffs, you can still play him, but they're not going to be. The good news in all this, Sparky, is this: we are not going to be in the playoffs for a very long time. This team is going to continue to grind out about a point a game. They will find their way to get like maybe 16 more points on the rest of the season, for sure. But I think that's what they have. That's a great thing. On the back-to-backs, how many back-to-backs do they have left? Anyway, I'll have to look that up another time. That'll take too much time while we're live here and we're having fun talking to each other. But I do think as they deal with back-to-backs too, I mean, they're going to need to look at it. Okay, one other like thought exercise for you, Sparky. It's about the vibes, yeah. Feel out how he's going if someone's hot. Here's the other one, okay? Because there's 2 lines of thought, and I've seen NHL teams do this differently based on their personality. Do you rest, if you are to rest Veggie, Do you rest them against? So that, for instance, they have one of their back-to-backs. I know one of them for sure. Tampa Bay and Florida. That's a back-to-back. At Tampa Bay, at Florida. So the question there, and then there's a third game on that road trip. So and then there's a rest, and then it's a third game in 4 nights at Chicago. That's like coming up in like 3 weeks, 2 weeks. When they go to Tampa Bay and Florida, do you decide against the Florida Panthers to put in Jackson Stauber? Because you're likely to lose that game. It's the second game of a back-to-back. You can get Vejmelka a little rest. And then Vejmelka should be good to go when you play the Chicago Blackhawks, which is absolutely a game you got to win. Or do you decide that you're going to go veggie against Tampa and Florida because Florida's good? You got to play your best goalie. And then against Chicago, you try Jackson Stauber. So do you use the backup against good teams or do you use them against bad teams? Obviously against Vancouver and the teams that are right at your level, you got to play. Yeah, the Panthers are ridiculous. They're really good. Love watching the Panthers. Love the way they play. Love their forecheck. So, okay, well, good. Well, that's the interesting part. But you're right. Like I guess if they're still in the hunt and they're close, I guess you go with Veggie until the cracks show. And tonight he didn't really show very many cracks, even though 4 goals go in. One of them's an empty netter, and then 2 of them are because the defenseman made absolutely egghead moves. And the other one was a puck luck goal that went off John Marino's skate. So, he pretty much stopped everything that was. As soon as you see the leaky goals go in, that's when it's time to worry. But he did give up kind of a bad goal against Anaheim. But I guess goalies, they're not perfect. Occasionally that happens. So, all right, for that trip, you rest him for the Panthers. You roll the dice, you throw Jackson Stauber out there, and you see if we can find a couple goals and find a way to sneak by the Florida Panthers in that. That is going to be a tough East Coast trip, by the way. That at Tampa, at Florida, hopefully at Chicago, which is a game that you hope that's definitely a slam dunk win. They did not win last time they played Chicago. I believe they got a loser point. But you got to find a way to win that at Chicago game. That is a critical one. I see on here, too, on my sheet, that Chicago will have a 2-day rest advantage in that. Utah will be on their 3rd game in 4 nights after having just done the back-to-back with Tampa and Florida. Tough stretch. It'll be a tough stretch for sure. So, great. I love it. You'd rest them for the Panthers. That's what that looks like. Meanwhile, on Sunday, they got Vancouver. 2 days after that, on Tuesday, they'll be playing at Edmonton. And in so many ways, given that Vancouver has a game in hand, they have to. Because of the game in hand, they have to beat Vancouver. And you are correct. Yes, the Canucks are on a back-to-back. They will be playing tomorrow night against Chicago. But yes, they will be playing the Chicago Blackhawks tomorrow night, and then on Sunday they'll be playing Utah. So hopefully Chicago gives them fits. Hopefully it goes to overtime. Hopefully there's like 7 fights. That would be great. Come on, Chicago. Let's go. Come on, Connor Bedard. I always thought you were going to be incredible. Come on. No. Take all the crap people are saying about you, Connor Bedard, and prove everybody wrong against the Vancouver Canucks tomorrow night. That would be great. But that Sunday game against Vancouver holds all the cards for this entire thing, in my opinion, because, because of a game in hand, you just have to assume that that's a 4-point deficit to Vancouver. If you lose to Vancouver on Sunday, you're down 6. And that's too much. That's too much. I think 6 points will be too much to try to recover from it. So it's an absolute must win. And honestly, it's a must regulation win because you can't just make up 1 point. You got to make up 2. So be an interesting thing to look at. Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Bedard's back in his hometown. Great. Little home cooking for him. Maybe his mom's lasagna will get him to be ready. Yeah. So I love it. I think that the hockey club, they're in the position that they wanted to be. It's what Bill Armstrong had in line for them before the season. All right, Sparky, one more set of questions for you. The next question I have for you is what do you think's going on with Matias Maccelli? I just think the basic answer with Matias Maccelli is this. With him being a healthy scratch, he's obviously got more skill offensively, but much less skill defensively. He's not good enough to be in your top 2 lines, probably has to play in your bottom 6, but you do not want to break up Lawson Krause. Do not want to break up Krause, Doan, and McBain. And so then he's got to play on the 4th line, and then it's like, what's the point with playing him? But you have a third-year player. You think he might be part of the mix for your team in the future. The whole point of the season was to get your young guys ice time in quality games that are with some real stakes, genuine stakes. So the question is, should you just find a way to get Matias Maccelli into the lineup? Because as you and I were talking here, it seems kind of unlikely maybe that they might squeeze their way in. It's possible, and they have a chance, and they should try, obviously. They should go for it. But the question is it kind of worth failing? Which is better? Failing to get into the playoffs, but getting Matias Maccelli the experience, or having Maccelli be a healthy scratch for the second half of the season and making the playoffs? Yeah, he's not sound defensively. The idea of somebody getting checked by Maccelli, it's like the wind of a butterfly wing. He's so much tougher than me. But I would just say, that yes, not particularly physical. Not a particularly physical hockey player, and frankly, he's not. His offensive skills are in playmaking, but he's not gonna put away the puck. The place you have to play him, if you're gonna do it, you have to play for your minutes. All right. It's fair. Because if they were going to do it, the guy that you would need to look at sacrificing, and maybe it'll happen anyway because Liam O'Brien got dinged up and maybe he will not be playing against Vancouver, though that seems like a game you'd want, sort of your bruiser guy. But if Liam O'Brien's not good to go, we will see Matias Maccelli again. And the question is where do you put him? Because you could potentially put him up on the Dylan Guenther and Barrett Hayton and Kerfoot line and move Kerfoot down to the 4th line. I do not see a reason to put Matias Maccelli on the 4th line and have him go, bang it out with Carcone and Stenlund. That does not seem like a great solution. So he's just an awkward fit right now. He's just a really awkward fit for this team. But I would love to see him continue to be developed because he has shown things through his first 2 seasons in the league that make you feel like he is, super skilled and a player that we should want to continue to develop because it feels like there's some there and that he has some skills offensively that can't be reached by so many players in this league, but yeah, if you do play him, you have to play him on the second line at least. Yeah, well, this season, whenever he was on there's no point in playing him on the 4th line. We agree. We are aligned. The biggest thing is that I think that this season, Michelli spent most of his time playing on the third line, and it was not great. To the extent that he did score points, it was during the period of time where he was up on the second line because Dylan Guenther was hurt. So he is certainly a player who is much more effective in the top six. He is not a matchup checking line kind of guy for your third line, and he certainly should not be on your, eat minutes, do no harm fourth line. So, yeah, okay. Well, we agree. There is just not a fit for him unless you decide that you're going to move against, Kerfoot. But again, they're 2 points away. Kerfoot is loved in that team room, and you could move Kerfoot to the fourth line. He'd do great there. And then that would mean either benching Carcone or Spicy Tuna, and then hoping that you get something from Michelli when you put him in your top six. But that is, I guess my point though is that he is one of the young player assets on this team. Like the young guys that we're hoping to see come along this year are McBain and Doan and Cooley and Guenther and Michelli. And all of those guys are in their first 3 years in the league. They're all playing in meaningful games kind of for the first time in their careers. And, well, all of them except for Michelli. And so the question is what is he? What is Matias Michelli? And the fact that they didn't trade him, it makes me wonder why they didn't trade him. Or what were they asking for him? Or were people afraid of him because he's an awkward fit? And unless you have a plan for how to use Matias Michelli, it doesn't really make sense. It's not just a guy you go acquire and then let's throw him in there and see what happens. You have to have a pretty good plan on what to do with him. Utah has not had a plan for what to do with him, and they do not look like they're prepared to obviously build around him because of the young guys we've talked about. He's the fifth most important young guy. Plus, I think Ryan Smith would like to see a playoff game, so there it is. All right, well, yeah, it is. It is. That's a lot of money to pay somebody, for sure. So that is where we are tonight. Utah loses to the Seattle Kraken in what was a really poor performance. Two really bad giveaways by the defensemen that were unenforced errors. The lack of connection between Olimata and Dursey, in particular, Dursey just not receiving a pass. And then the second piece on that is Sergachev putting the puck into the side of the net. Both of those ugly goals are given up. Then a puck luck goal. That's 3 goals for Seattle to get the empty netter. And somehow, someway, Utah on a subpar performance night where Kevin Stenlund is their best player. Of course, they end up losing to the Seattle Kraken, but it's a heartbreaker. Boy, did they need this one on a night where Colorado beats Calgary, a night where they could have tied for that wild card spot in terms of points. There they are. And yes, Seattle's mascot is still ugly, and Clay Bennett was right, Seattle. You should know that. No, he wasn't. Seattle's a much better city than Oklahoma City. And we're also nice fans here in Utah. But also, you beat us tonight. So Clay Bennett was right. All right. Hey, Sparky, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for talking with me tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give the little thumbs up below on the chat. And hopefully we'll see you around again. We will be here on Sunday night after the buzzer, when Utah plays their biggest game in franchise history, no hyperbole, against the Vancouver Canucks in Vancouver. Huge game that they almost certainly have to win if they're going to find a way into the playoffs. So that's that. Have a good night, and we'll catch up with you next time.